What's up, everyone? It's Monday night. Time for another episode of Coffee with Colin. Cheers. I'm Colin Egglesfield, and this is the show that inspires you to be your best self. So this show is the culmination of everything that I have learned over the past 20 years, my acting career, working with some of the top actors, producers, directors, and industry professionals out there. And I share all of this with you because I love acting. I love being in movies and on television shows, but one of the things that I love to do most also is to inspire people to fulfill and to pursue and realize and manifest their dreams and ambitions as well. And tonight's guest is someone who does the exact very same thing. I met her at the Tony Robbins Unleash the Power Within event down in Miami. This was 2 years ago. And since then, we've become good friends. And she's someone who inspires me to be my best self. And we have been on this amazing journey together where we continually challenge each other to just grow and to improve upon everything that we're doing. And it is so important to have people like this in your life who see the best in you, who challenge you, who can call you on your BS. And my guest tonight is that very person. But before I start, I just want to say thank you so much to everyone who has been downloading and who has bought my movie, 100 Days to Live, that came out last week. We have been hanging in the top 20 on Apple TV and on other platforms all week with some of these bigger films with these bigger budgets. And for those of you who don't realize the whole just concept of independent filmmaking, it truly is David versus Goliath, because a lot of these studio films have multi-million dollar budgets. And our little film, this independent film, 100 Days to Live, directed, written by Raveen Gandhi. He's a business guy. He's the CEO of a nonstick coating pan company, and he had this dream about making a movie. So he did it. He put it together, wrote it, and fortunately the stars aligned because I got to star in it and had a great experience working on the film with him. We shot this thing 2 years ago, and it takes 2 years, to bring a film to distribution, the editing, the score, like all of that, and then what happens after the film is put together? We send it to test audiences, and here we are 2 years later, and boom, the film is released. And every time you guys download it and watch it, it bodes well for us to be able to pick up foreign distribution, because if it does well here, then the foreign distribution companies all over the world will look at that and say, you know what? This is a little movie that could, so we're going to give it a chance in some of these other countries. So thank you so much for your support with the film. And also just want to let you know that my book club started last week. Thank you for everyone who's jumped in there. And I look forward to doing our first Q&A on Wednesday night. And all of this, again, is to inspire you all to live your best self lives. And without further ado, I want to bring Miss Cara McCarron onto the show. Miss Cara McCarron is the creator. What's up, Karen? Cara?
Hello.
Cara is the creator of the Head to Heart Method coaching method program and host of She's the Owner podcast. Cara's superpower is, and I can attest to this, helping mission-driven female entrepreneurs. Even though I'm not female, I do tap into my female energy thanks to Cara. And she helps build successful businesses by teaching them to get out of their heads, teaching people to get out of their heads and into their hearts to crush their goals, which is exactly what I always talk about. It's all about getting back down here into your heart center, into your spiritual sacred self. And this is one of the key things that I had to learn as an actor, because growing up, I was very in my head about, am I doing it right? What are people thinking of me? And it kept me stuck. And what's been great about this journey that I've been going on over the past few years, much like Cara has been, a lot of this work has to do with just reconnecting to who you know yourself to be from your heart center. So Cara, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate you joining us on this lovely Monday evening. You're coming to us from Toronto, Canada, right?
Yep. Chilly, very chilly. Nadine, I know she knows because I saw some of her comments. So yes, it's cold here, but sunny.
Yes. Well, you look great.
Thank you. So do you.
Like I said in the introduction here, we've known each other for 2 years, and we have been on the very similar journeys. And up until 2 years ago, you were the CEO of a content creation company, right? So you've been an entrepreneur for a while, right?
For 20 years, I've had, this is my 7th business. And I would say the second that's successful, but the first one's they're always there to teach you something. But yeah, the content company is still running. It's a healthy 6-figure company. And I lost my mojo for it, which is how I ended up with She's the Owner and the CaraMcCarron.com brand. Because that happens all the time. We get on paper, if you want me to just go into it, I'll just go into it.
Go for it. Let's dive right in.
I know a lot of times people ask, like, how did you get to this point? And at the time I was single, and I'm transitioning again, but at that time it was 2018. And I started to talk a lot to my kids and to just people around me, like they were in my business. So it was very militant and not mean and not nasty in any way, but I was like always in go mode, right? Like we got to get shit done all the time. And I couldn't slow down. I couldn't relax. It was just constant hustle. And I remember thinking, like, truthfully, I was like, I'm single. Why am I not meeting any guys? And actually, when I met you, you kind of called me out on a couple of those facts as well. And it was like, I kept attracting or talking to or witnessing guys who are really in their feminine. And I was like, what is this about? Well, I was in my masculine. So that's what I drew in.
So can I ask just real quick so we can clarify, when you talk about men being in their feminine, what exactly does that mean?
Well, so let me talk what a woman looks like in her masculine and then what the guy looks like. So a woman in her masculine is very much in charge. They always need to get things done. It's all about completing the task. It's all about fixing the problem. And a man in his masculine, same thing, but when you have two masculine energies, there's combustion. So what tends to happen is a woman will attract the opposite of what she is. So a man in his feminine. Now, everybody has both energies, but a man in his feminine, and I will say toxic feminine, is sort of looking to the woman. And this is the part that's frustrating for a woman who's strong and alpha, but they want you to lead them. So they default all the time to you. What do you want to do? Where do you want to go? And typically what happens for a woman in her masculine, or even a woman who's healthy alpha, like for me, for example, and I've done a lot of the work now, but we just want someone else to make the decision. I'm making decisions all day in my companies. I'm making decisions all day with the kids. Like, I don't want to also have to make decisions with my spouse. And so when you're in that masculine role too often, you'll say things like, why do I have to do everything all the time? Or like you and I've talked about when you were driving in the car and the directions thing, right? Like women like to chirp up and be like, no, go this way. But really, like when a woman is in her feminine, she's not worrying about you taking we know how to just let you be the hero, let you figure it out. But a man who's in his feminine will be like, well, where do I go? Like, what do I need? And women in their masculine are like, oh my God, I'm going to murder you. Like, this is not what I signed up for. But nobody understands that who's doing what and who's like, nobody gets it. Right there. I don't know that I'm in my masculine. He doesn't know he's in his feminine, all those type of things. But for me, it was like really recognizing that because I'm a business owner, I couldn't, I couldn't see outside of that because I'm always in charge. Plus, if you're a mom, if there's moms here, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you're not in charge, the kid's going to die. Like that's legit what it is.
Yeah.
There's a moment when you need to turn it off, and especially in a relationship, but you can't have that hustle mentality or the hunter mode 100% of the time. It'll ruin you. It'll ruin you. It'll ruin the kids. It'll ruin the spouse if you have one, or it will ruin your chances of really connecting with somebody of the opposite sex in a real way. So.
And so is it possible for two people who have both dominant alpha energies to be successfully in a relationship, do you think?
Well, I mean, I'm no relationship expert, but I think no. I mean, what I've seen and what I've studied and all of the work I've done on this, I think it sort of depends. Like, I think you can have two strong people. Like for me, for example, I would consider myself an alpha female, but I definitely have learned how to dip into my feminine. Now, what would make sense for me is to have somebody who is in his mature masculine, who's able to give direction, who's able to take control of certain things, situations. But then ladies, we have to be open to receiving and surrendering. Okay. Like that's the big trick, because masculine energy women will be like, I want a guy to take care of me. And then as soon as the guy tries to take care of you, you're like, wait. No, I like not actually like that. This is how I actually need you to take care of me. And then the man eventually goes, and you can attest to this. If you don't need me, why am I here?
Right.
So,
yeah. And one of our viewers, Angeline, just typed in here that it can be difficult to turn off that masculine side of you being a woman if you've been doing it for so long.
Oh yes.
So then there comes a man who is like trying to take care of you, and well, it's a tricky subject when you say take care of you, not necessarily take care of, but to compliment you in your life with what you're up to, bringing that masculine energy. So what advice do you give women who are used to being in their masculine because they've had to?
Yeah. So the short answer is it takes work. Like the short answer is that you have to wake up and be conscious. The longer answer is really starting to understand first what the mechanisms are that you're doing, right? So like I said, a couple of ways that you're in your masculine, and this goes for if you're in a relationship as well, is that if you're always saying I have to do everything, if somebody tries to help you and you're like, no, forget it, I'm like, that's classic sign is like, let me help you with that. And you're like, yeah, sure. And then you're watching them like a hawk.
Yes.
And they're like, no, that's not how it's done. Like if a guy wants to unload the dish, like Colin, if you were in my house and you said to me, honey, I'm just going to go and unload the dishwasher, I am shutting the F up. I'm not saying a word. I'm just going to sit here and be quiet. And then when you leave the room, I might go rearrange things. And then later I might say, oh, babe, the way you did the dishwasher, I so appreciate it. But I know I'm like, and you make a joke out of it. I know I'm crazy, but like, can you just make sure that the cups are like, and you want to be my hero. That's it.
Yeah. That's what we want to be.
Okay.
Men want to be a woman's hero.
That's it.
We just want to be successful. When we know that we can make a woman happy, we will keep coming back for more. But when we feel like we're being, I guess, criticized or criticized, then that's when we feel like it kind of throws us off, because then it throws us into that'll
put you in your feminine
energy, where we're like, okay, I don't know how to operate in this energy. You are coming at me, and I'm just like, do I fight back or do I just ignore you? It's So
no, it's very, very true. But so for women who first, I'm smiling because a lot of women, bless your hearts, but you don't even know it yet. I didn't. I had no idea that I wasn't walking around, and I make jokes about leaving my proverbial penis in West Palm Beach when I went to an event with Tony. Like, I literally was like, oh, this is what, because he does a whole day on that. And I was like, okay, now I get it. But you don't know it. So that's why I give those kind of examples. Like when you're bossy, if somebody calls you, oh my God, she's so bossy, there's a good chance you're in your masculine, because bossy doesn't equal powerful. Bossy is just you being bossy. Like, I can still activate change and I can still have impact in my feminine, in my strong feminine energy, where I can get people to move much faster when I'm in that zone versus when I'm like, bossy, you need to do this. Like nobody wants that energy.
Right. Yeah.
And in business in particular, like we tend to, here's the real truth of it, is that we do feel like we get taken advantage of. If we're being too, there is a fine line. There's no question. I've had situations with men from my other company when I was doing trade shows where they physically tried to take advantage of me. And so there is that balance, but you can still operate your companies and operate your personal life in your heart. And then you execute in your head.
I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the first time I had ever heard that. There's a difference between being bossy and being, I guess, more of a active leader, I guess, for lack of a better description. Yeah.
Yep.
I like that. And so I think for people who are in relationships and they're maybe not understanding why they're not communicating with each other, I think someone even just said it up on the chat that awareness is the key to start unlocking the ability to even start having these kinds of conversations. And it wasn't until I read the book Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus that I even noticed that there are real physiological, energetic differences between men and women. And I think a lot of the times we end up trying to change people instead of appreciating each other for our differences. And what I have been, I guess my fault is I sometimes expect a woman to keep up with me in terms of getting stuff done. Like, right. and I keep forgetting, like, okay, they're not a business partner. This is a relationship. This is a romantic relationship. And I can't keep trying to change a woman. I've got to accept her for who she is and embrace that this is why we are attracted to each other, because right. I am more of like an A-type kind of alpha personality. And I think sometimes it is important that we do feel that a woman can take the reins when we need her to. Mm-hmm. And that's why I am attracted to a woman who is aware of this male and female energetic difference, because that way you can at least talk about it as well.
Yep.
And say, listen, honey, can you be like the guy tonight and just order the food and take care of it? I need to just like relax.
Papa needs a nap.
Yeah.
But so one thing is you want to more than accept that, like, we're not hairy, or you're not a hairy woman or man, you're woman, right? Like, so men are men, women are women. Yeah. And like, there's this idea that it's black and white, but it's not. Like, if a man says, and you're right, like I have this idea about both parties have to kind of like buy into personal development, whatever that looks like, whether it's Tony, whether it's this, whether it's whoever. Because if you can't both be talking the same language, it gets tricky, right? If the woman's trying to get into her feminine, the guy has absolutely no idea what the hell is happening. He's obviously like, what? They don't understand it. Like, if they've had this masculine energy woman, this alpha woman all this time, there's some confusion that will happen. Yeah. But like women, this is the thing that's really interesting is, and this is because I don't believe that there's personal and there's business. I think we're one person. I'm one Cara. That's it. So one huge distinction is that, like, for example, and sorry, Colin, if this gives you the heebie-jeebies, but women, we get our periods, okay? We have a 4-week cycle, 28 days. Men, guess how long your hormone clock is? Guess. Yours is 24 hours. So in one full day, you've gone through your whole hormone cycle. It takes us a month, right? So there's times when I feel more in my feminine, when I'm ovulating. And ladies, please blow up the chat if this is hitting any part of you, because sisters have to stick together. But seriously, like, I even teach this when I'm doing coaching with my business clients. Like, I will ask, where are you in your cycle right now? Because the feminine divine, it's all about the cycle. It's all about the lunar cycle, etc. But like, when you dial into that part, so there's a certain time, and if you're the guy and you're paying attention to that cycle, you know when to turn it on and when to turn it off. You know when she's going to be more receptive to X, Y, and Z. And like, truthfully, for me, it's, usually like there's a week where I'm on fire. Like, if you tried to keep up toe to toe with me on a completing business task, I would blow you out of the water. But then in a week and a half, I'm simmered down, I'm quieter, I'm introspective, maybe I'm writing more content, maybe I'm doing more blogs for my businesses, maybe I'm doing more whatever. But like, we don't talk about it. We don't talk about it ever as women. And it's such a critical piece of the puzzle, because we cannot compare ourselves to the guy, romantically or otherwise. You guys have it's very, I'm not going to say one-dimensional, but it's pretty easy to figure it out. But we have, Alison Armstrong, I had her on my show, on my podcast, and she's the queen of all of like masculine, feminine. She studied men for 30 plus years. She's incredible. But she talks about our emotions like an organ in our bodies. You guys just don't have that. We do. And that's why there's that chemistry. That's why there's the connection. That's why you look to us to help you feel. But if we're not honoring it, right? So not just accepting that you're different and I'm different, but if we're not truly honoring you and like honoring the king in you and honoring the magician and honoring the warrior and honoring the lover and vice versa, right? The queen, the priestess, all of those things.
Mhm.
There's a miss. And so it requires, like, for women who are boss babes, right? Like we're celebrating some, I mean, I'm going off on a tangent. You're in TV and
No, this is
I
great.
can tell you.
Yeah.
If you watch so I've just watched Younger, which is an HBO, I think, show. I just watched Emily in Paris, and then the recent one is Flack with Anna Paquin, who's, by the way, Canadian from Winnipeg. What's up?
Yeah.
All of it it's this hierarchy of the boss. She's a woman. She's a total bitch, like the biggest bitch you've ever seen in your life. Then she's got two people underneath her who are mid-level, and then they've got an intern. The message women get constantly is if we want to be powerful and we want to be at the top of our game, we have to be assholes to each other.
Mm.
And so what do the men see? They see, oh, she's bossy bitch, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden, everything gets all scrambled. Like if you got in your heart as a business owner, an entrepreneur, and you started to make decisions out of your heart, what's best for my client? What's best for my customer? What's best for the people watching my lives? And you become obsessed in your heart for how to serve them. Mm-hmm. The rest is history. The rest, all the pragmatic, all the execution will figure itself out. But we are so conditioned as women to just be in hunter mode and like get it done and step on whoever you need to step on. And I don't care, my red bottoms are going in your eye, like the whole thing. And I'm like shocked when I see shows that were filmed this year and last year that still have this formula. And I get it. It works. It makes the numbers go up, but it's bullshit. It's teaching us that we cannot be a collective tribe and community and raise together, men and women. It's teaching us that if you want to get to the top, you have to step on anyone that you need to get to the top. And that just furthers this masculine energy, because that's it, right? You got me and you in hunter mode, and there's one lion I'm going to try and kill, and so are you.
So, and this touches on, like, when I talk to some women and they say, growing up, I always got along better with guys because they were just more straightforward and didn't like the gossip stuff. Why do women do that? Why do they try to put each other down and talk about each other and gossip about each other? What is that? What is that
about, Cara?
I mean, I have an idea of why, but just I want to hear your perspective.
Well, so one of the things that I think that comes up when you ask that question is that it's one of the ways. So this is going way back, but so when men hunt, they have to be super quiet and focused, right? Mm-hmm. Or you got to kill that animal. You need to zip it. You can't make a ton of noise. When women go out of the villages and the tribes, and I use this analogy, and Tony talks about it as well. I need to know exactly what berry bush I'm going to. I need to know that it's not poisonous. I need to make sure that I've remembered the color, I remember the location, the smell, all of the things. So that when I come back to my tribe and I tell all my sisters where the berries are, they know exactly. So I'm giving in great detail, because if I miss something, all of a sudden they pick the wrong berries, my tribe dies. Like it's literally life and death. So we've been conditioned to do what some have referred to as a meadow report. And that's like, so Colin, if you went to a party and you saw 3 guys and I said, how was the party? What would you say?
I would say it was fun. Saw some of my friends. We hung out, listened to some music, and caught up.
Yeah. I'd be like, okay, so he was wearing these gray pants and he had this Gucci belt on, and his sweater was it was a little tight, but it was really nice. And his hair looked so good. And then his buddy was like, he was wearing this weird Nike, like you would get the full meadow report. Yes. Like that would be how I tell that same exact story. Right?
Like, okay, so get to it. Like,
yeah, you want to know what's the problem and how do I solve it? Like, woman, I'm not interested in your bullshit story. I just need the facts. And this is, you go back to how men and women are different. You have to learn to listen to my meadow report, probably daily, once a day. And I have to be okay with you trying to solve a problem or being comfortable saying, I'm not looking for you to solve this right now. I just need to give you my meadow report. So the gossip thing really is part, because I've caught myself in that trap too, where I'll get talking to a girlfriend and all of a sudden I'm like, wait a minute, what am I doing? And it's one of the 6 basic human needs. Love and connection is what it is for me. I'm trying to love and connect with her So what's the quickest way? The way that I can do that, my old self would have been to gossip. And that's one of the ways, like we give them out a report and we gossip our asses off. But once you realize there's other ways to love and connect with each other that are not mean and detrimental to other people, then you figure other ways to talk. But gossip is one of those things where, and backstabbing, I mean, there's that competitive streak too, right? Like I have 4 daughters, the age of 11 all the way up to 33. The 33-year-old, I did not birth her before everyone's like, what? How old were you? Oh, she's my stepkid. But when a girl gets her period, again, we're going back to, sorry, buddy. But when a girl gets, when a girl goes through puberty, it's like, well, you're surrounded by girls, right? I know what happens, and I didn't understand it when it happened when I was younger, but biologically we become competition to our mothers, right? Like consciously that's not the case, but biologically and subconsciously all of a sudden there's this other person who can procreate now. And so a lot of times that bitchiness, it's the competition between women, right? We're not conscious of it, but some of that is that underlying biological competition. That's why like older women, I've just turned 45 on Sunday, we're looking at these young chippies and we're like, I don't want to have another child. Make no mistake. But there's a part of me that's like, oh, well, she's all young and her skin's all perfect and her boobs still are up here, whatever. Like, it's real. We do have these thoughts. So I think a lot of it's biological. A lot of it's the connection thing. How do I connect with it? But we have to turn it around because it's useless to gossip about each other. Totally pointless.
Yeah. So. Yeah. It's, and definitely can be detrimental and just, make people feel more insecure about who they are and just put a block up between communication and connection. But yeah, all of this is just super interesting to me. And I've got a couple of questions, well, actually a few questions from my audience. So I'd like to start out by asking a question by Carrie Billman, who asks, do these energies play a role in everyday life, job, etc., or are they more prominent in our careers?
No, I mean, it's 100% everyday life and in your career. Like really, you just have to sit down and say, ask yourself, am I feeling in flow right now? Am I feeling as happy as I can feel? Am I feeling like, for me, it's, so a couple things that you can think about as a woman to know if you're in your masculine is this is a physical component. If you feel a lot of tension in the back of your neck or in your shoulders or between your shoulder blades. So ladies, right now, just give yourself a little gut check just to feel physically. Do you feel any tension there? There's a good chance you're in your masculine. So when we think it's, at work, this, that, and the other, like you can start off at work in your masculine. And one of the things I do with my clients is I'll tell them when they're done, because everybody's at home mostly, when you're done work, put a little picture beside your light of something very feminine, divine, and just tap it before you leave your office space, just to give you a quick energy shift and remind you, okay, I'm done. Because I'm in hunter mode when I'm working too, but I'm not an asshole about it. And that's the difference. I used to be more of a jerk when I was in my hunter mode, but now I understand it so I can soften. But like, absolutely, it will bleed into every area. So if you couldn't turn off that masculine energy before you left your office and you went home to your husband or partner or kids that way, it's a disaster. Like nobody wants to be around that. And we say things like, well, I have so much to do and I have to do it like this, or there's nobody else here. I have to do, like, I promise you, your kids are going to grow up and they're all going to move out and you're going to miss that time. And that dish getting done really was no big deal. And I catch myself doing it, like where I would bark and say, Amelia, do the dishes. Like they have to get done, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like watching her shrink. So now it would be so helpful to me if you could do the dishes. Honestly, babe, give me a 10 up top. And we make a thing of it. And all of a sudden I'm engaging her in helping me. Right. And so it's not a bark at, it totally, absolutely, it can bleed into any area. And just look at your area of like, look at your career, look at your kids, there's an imbalance there. And if there is, it's just time to start getting still and really honest and asking yourself, am I, and you said control, or no, you didn't say control freak. I'm saying that you said type A, but like we call ourselves, oh, I'm a type A, or, oh, I'm such a control freak. And we make a joke of it. It's no joke. Like it's not sustainable for us. It's just not. For the men. Yes. But even then I would question, right? But like women, we're not built to be 24/7 hunters. We're just not.
Well, I think women tend to dip into their masculine more than they would like to, because there's just a void in that type of energy in their life. And so I think when I see relationships where women are, I was on an airplane and behind me was this older couple. I mean, they were like in their 50s, and the woman just was like, did you call the cleaning lady, and did you do this? And he was like, well, yeah, I did. And she said, yeah, but honey, that they have to be there at 5:00. And I mean, their voices were to the point where people 5 rows around could hear this. Right. Finally, after like 15 minutes, I turned around. I go, excuse me. I go,
can you please?
Would you mind keeping your voices down? And I literally wanted to go over to the guy and be like, and dude, will you just give your wife a huge hug right now? Because she is so in her masculine. She needs to be held. She needs to know that you have taken care of whatever it is that needs to be taken care of, because she was just like trying to, like what people would call a control freak. Yep. And people may say, well, that woman is just like out of, a bitch or whatever. Yep. And literally what it comes down to is they just need to feel that someone is stable around them to make them feel safe. I mean, that's literally what it comes down to.
Yep.
Yeah.
It is that safety.
Guys around you, if your woman is acting bossy, just go give her a hug, squeeze her, tell her that you love her, tell her that everything is going to be all right. And I promise you, you will see some massive changes.
Yeah, because that's it. And then so to speak to that, when a man when the way that we put a man into his feminine is by closing off, criticizing, and trying to control him. So closing off, that could be physically, that's the biggest way. If I cut you off from sex, watch how fast you go into your feminine energy, and not positive, like toxic feminine. If I'm criticizing, like complaining about the dishes and how you did this and how you did that, eventually you're gonna be like, oh my God, like what can I do to shut her up? And you're going to shut down. And if I'm trying to control you, I don't want you to go with your friends tonight. Can't you just, like, all that type of behavior? Or let's say you want to start a business and I'm like, no, you can't. You have to stay in, come on, we can't. You got to keep the job. Like those are all, those are high level ways. But if we do those 3 things, you're going to go into your feminine. And the reverse is true. Like you talked about safety. When a woman is in her masculine, ladies, this is critical. If we feel unsafe, unseen, and misunderstood for a long enough period of time, we will go into our masculine. Or for me, my parents were both alcoholics. They were both physically abusive to me. And when I was probably about 10, I got the signal that I had to be in charge, or AKA in my masculine. So some of the time, or a lot of the time, it's trauma. It's trauma that will have started when you were small. That gave you the conditioning and the messaging that if I'm not in control, bad things are going to happen. And that was it. So I was in my masculine from 10 years old. So then I attracted a feminine energy guy. Like I didn't put him in it. He didn't put me in it, but the opposites attract for a time being. But then problems happen.
Yeah.
And the polarity is gone. But like, if you want a woman to feel safe, guys, let her be heard, let her be understood, and let her feel safe. And not just physically, like it's not just a physical thing, financially, right? Like if a woman doesn't feel like she's financially safe in that environment, she's going to go find ways to feel safe. That might mean 2 jobs and acting like a cow because she's tired all the time. And because the husband's not stepped up in that area. Emotionally, if you don't make a woman feel emotionally safe, she's going to find it elsewhere. End of story. And it won't be another woman. By the way.
What do you mean by emotionally safe?
Like if I can't talk to you and tell you my fears without you losing it, then I don't feel safe to share that with you. If every time I share with you and you're like, well, and you panic, then I'm like, oh, he's not safe. I can't tell him anything. He gets more worried than I'm worried. Right. So you just stoically hear it and, you can try and fix the problem if we want you to. But,
yeah. I think it's very easy for us men to want to, like you said, want to fix the problem right away. So we will go right into our masculine of, why don't you do this? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do this? And I can see where that may make a woman feel unsafe because, look, as adults, we usually know what to do. We usually know what the answer is. Sometimes we just need to voice our frustrations and vent and that sort of thing. And I think it's so important that a man, before he jump right into trying to solve the problem or try to exert himself into the situation, to just give a woman that space and hold the space for a woman to be a woman, to let her feel safe in expressing her emotions. This is something that I learned later on in my life. And I was like, and as soon as I heard that, I was like, oh, okay. They don't want the problem solved. They just want to be heard. They want to be held. They want to just feel safe. And that was huge when I discovered that.
And it's rocky at first, especially if the couple's not used to this stuff. It's going to be like, and I think just like you said, holding the space or holding that container for her to let her just let it out, unload all of the stuff she needs to unload, and know that it's not a thing that I need to fix it. It's just, she's talking, she's giving me her Meadow report. And I think, I'm pretty clear. If I was talking to somebody, I would say I have a problem I need help with. Can you help me fix this? That's how I might start a conversation. If I'm looking for solution-based conversation. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, I just need to talk.
Do you think sometimes women expect men to be women with regards to listening and conversation? And is that fair to expect a man to be that for a woman? Because I think that's where sometimes relationships can hit snags with regards to, look, if you need that, then maybe you should go talk to a woman with that sort of stuff. I mean, I'm here for you if you want to discuss something that is maybe productive to our relationship and is going to cause growth. But sometimes I just can't sit there for 15 minutes and listen to the Meta reports as much as I try.
It's a Meadow because you're in the Meadow
report. Oh,
yes. Okay. Well, I would push back though, and I would say, well, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? Right. If I get the message enough times that I can't come to you for my Meadow report once a day, and make jokes of it, right? Be like, yo, you already had your 15 minutes of fame here, sweetheart. We're moving on. And if you're playful about it, then, and if she's in her feminine, she'll be like, okay, yeah, you're right. I just did a lot of that. But there's that, you run the risk of her being like, okay, great. I can't go to him. So I'm going to go elsewhere. And some guy will listen to her, because sure, she's got her girlfriends, but she's looking for the hero again. Right. And she can't find that safety in anyone but you. So, but if it gets where it's like 8 hours of Meadow reports, then it's time to be and scene, sweetheart, we are done. But I mean, that's how I would navigate. You got to be careful with that one for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Next question is from Amy Krause. She asks, how do we find the balance when we are stuck in one energy or another?
Well, you listen to the She's the Owner podcast. No. I mean, again, it's just awareness, right? Decide how you're feeling. So for me, it's all about getting back into the body. That's how we find our feminine connection. That's how you find your divine, the core of who we are as women. So oftentimes when we're in our masculine, I sort of say you have to shake it out. So shamanic breath work is a really, really, really big one. So there's 1.5 million, YouTube videos on it. I'm happy to share ones that I've used. There's one that I use that's 1 hour and 45 minutes. And it takes you through a series of breathing techniques and body movement. You're laying down when you're doing it. But oftentimes when we're in our masculine, we're too far in the masculine. We have to get back into our body. And so that's could be meditation, breath works. Dancing is a huge one, right? So for women, and I'm not talking like, I mean, I'm a dancer. I've been dancing since I was 4. I've done ballet, hip hop, Spanish, Irish, Ukrainian. What else? I don't know. I think that's it. I'm not talking about hip hop, ladies. I'm talking about like no choreography, just move your body. Put on music that has no lyrics on it, something that puts you in that zone where it's you're connecting with source, you're connecting with the universe, you're connecting, and just start to move your body. And you're going to feel, and eyes closed, keep a nice safe space for yourself, but you're going to start to feel that connection again, because it's really connecting with your body for a woman. You can't be in your head when you're floating around your bedroom. Like, it's just, because you can be when you're doing choreography though. That's why I'm very strategic in saying can't be choreographed. Just move your body. Did that answer your questions? How do we find the balance? That's one way. Cooking. Get your asses back in the kitchen, ladies. I don't like to cook. I don't care. You're being creative. You're nourishing. Like there's certain words I use to describe feminine energy. Nurturing is one of them. Intuition, patience, sensuality, empathy. Like these are words that describe feminine energy. So cooking is one of those ways that you can be nurturing. You're nurturing either if you're on your own, you're nurturing yourself, or you're nurturing your family. Just put on some nice music, pour a glass of wine if that's your jam. Go ahead, do whatever you need to do. But when you start to chop the onions and you're chopping, you're creating, you're in creation mode, feminine energy, big time. And then journaling. Oh my God, I'm obsessed with journaling. But here's my tip on journaling. Don't journal as if the thing is going to happen in 5 years. Journal like it's happening today or has already happened. So the difference in the energy for me is again, it's not pragmatic. I'm not thinking of all the things I need to do to get to that visualization. I'm in it. Like my journaling will start off with, I just took a beautiful paddle board session in the intercoastal. Colin, I want to live in Miami or in Florida during the winter. So I'm saying in my journal as though I just went for paddleboard. I'm saying it like it's happening. I'm not saying it like it's super duper long in the future. And it might, you just talk about your day, your perfect day, as if it's happening right now. But that activates the feminine energy for everybody, but especially for women.
The way we met at the Tony Robbins Unleash the Power Within event, it's, I'm a firm believer in, there are no coincidences. I mean,
agreed.
We attract the people into our lives at the moment that we need them. And we were doing this exercise where it required us to get extremely vulnerable about something that we were dealing with. And we were in this, obviously we're in this group of seats and we're all kind of next to each other. And we would break up into these partner groups. And this is a 3-4 day event. And it got to a point where Tony said, okay, now turn to your partner, to your left or to your right, and share whatever it is that we're talking about. And at that particular moment, both the people on either side of me turned, and for whatever reason, everyone got paired up except for me in the group that I was in. And I'm looking around in this the most vulnerable moment of the whole freaking weekend. And again, I look around, I'm like, I'm alone. So I look around and boom, in that moment, I look and like 10 rows away, I see you and you looked at me, and right there in that moment, it was like, you were exactly what I needed in that moment. Cause you just hold such you are so imbalanced, because what I get from you is that I get that nurturing, loving energy, but man, there's so much behind it. There's so much support behind all of that, that in that moment, I felt like I was just drawn to that energy somehow. And we walked over to each other and we kind of were like, yeah, okay. So we walk over, and then before you know it, like I'm bawling in your arms. Like we just met you 5 seconds prior. I'm like, I don't want to let my mom down. And I
Yeah.
got so much pressure to be this man that I want to live up to. And you were just like, okay, you're good. You're good.
It was beautiful though. But here's the weird part about that is I always have a buddy. That's the first time in like all the events I did where I was like, I see the buddy sign near you. I was like, I guess I'm going to the buddy sign. And then boom, there we have it. But that's the thing. Like women can hold space for that. Like that was genuinely one of the most important moments of my life because I was comfortable holding that space for you. I wasn't scared. I wasn't like, I just thought, nope, this person needs me right now. And I'm happy to stand in that. But knowing that, like knowing when to read the room, right? And I always thank you for that vulnerability. And I think that's why we became such good friends because that level of I mean, it's a Tony Robbins event. I mean, this is what you do at these places, but it still is beautiful.
Yeah. So I just wanted to thank you for that. And also just, I guess, to make our viewers aware that, as tough as men, we try to put on that masculine, bravado that we got it all taken care of, that we've got it all figured out. It's nice to know that we can feel safe enough to be able to be vulnerable in a woman's presence like that. And I think each person needs to be in that balance of masculine and feminine because, man, like you said, we're constantly just fluctuating between our days. And as a man, this is the first time I heard that we go through that cycle in a day. And obviously women go through that cycle in a month. But it's great to be aware of that so that you can kind of get a good sense of where each other is. To be able to then be like, okay, this is what I see. This is where you're at. I want to be here for you in that moment. I think as men, though, we don't necessarily have, are encouraged to have these kinds of conversations about being vulnerable and feminine energy. It's like, because it's like, if we're too much in our feminine energy, then we get called sissy or, all kinds of derogatory words that, just are not appropriate. And so we have to put on this false bravado. And I think it keeps us men locked in this space of like, I'm afraid of letting my guard down for fear of if women or society are going to think that I'm less of a man. And I think hopefully we are starting to realize that it is so important to be able to share your vulnerability. But I feel like I can only do that when I'm with a woman who is comfortable in her masculine. So I think it's so important that both people have that balance.
And the opposite's true. Like when a man can do that, what you did to a woman, that's like, I mean, you'd be confused if that's what they did all of the time. But when you can see a man really own himself, like that to me is presence. And that's what women really want, is like not present, but presence. Like there's a big difference between a man who's present. Yes, I'm listening to you, honey. Or a man who is like in his, his presence is there. He's holding that space, but the same goes. But like some women, it's just conditioning. And that's why I love this conversation so much, because it like wakes up the women and it wakes up the men to see like, okay, so we've kind of got it wrong here. You guys are running around like you're men and we're running around like we're women. We need to switch back, get back onto the other side of the room. But how, right? And the how is having these type of conversations.
Absolutely. And to continue on with some of the questions from our audience, Shannon Muri asks, as a mom, entrepreneur, caregiver, clearly female, how do we get our teen boy to help us be motivated to help out more?
So I love that question. I mean, teenagers suck pretty much. And I have really amazing kids and they've all sucked at that stage. Like there's almost no other way to put it. But what I would say, if I was a mother of a boy, I would again turn him into the hero. Like even little boys want to be the hero. Like these mothers who go around and I'm not suggesting this is the case, but there's this idea that we have to take care of our boys and the moms have to, like the traditional, like maybe Italian, or I'm Eastern European, like you make him all his food and do all his laundry and all that stuff, right? Like we spoil them rotten. And that absolutely negate, like when you put him out into the real world, all of a sudden he's like, wait, like my dad, he's like, wait, like nobody cares to do my laundry? What's this real world shit? And he was totally confused. But like, let them be the hero. Like, I know you can reach the thing on the cupboard, but like get your son a stepladder and let him get it for you and say, you know what? You really helped me. Thank you. Let him know you're the queen and let him be your king in these moments. Like these are all teaching moments. And same with the teen. Yes, teen years are hard for us mamas, for sure. I have one more who's about to go through it, and I swear she's going to be the most challenging of all of them put together. She's so sweet, but holy shit. But like, let him, so conversations, like I said, and it's not an overnight success. Like, I'm not going to lie about that. It's going to take time, but position it like he's helping you. Right. So honey, it would really, really help me if you could just blah, blah, blah. And when he does it, praise him. Thank you. And let him know, like, remind him, don't say you're my hero. Well, you could say you're my hero, but let him feel like he just helped mom out to such a level that just relieved her of so much pain or whatever. And the more you condition him to do that, and it, again, like this could take 2, 3, 4, 6 months of you just continuously reminding him he's the hero. But if you position it like they're giving, even with my girls, I mean, I will say, I had a really hard day today. Like, do you think you could handle dinner for me? And instantly they go into, yeah, of course I can. But if I said, go make dinner, I've had a really hard day. You feel the difference in my energy.
Definitely.
Right. Yeah. And that works for boys, especially. Honey, I'm mom had like a crazy day. It would be so helpful to me if you could just take the garbage out. Right. And that's it. Exactly.
And you can say that perfect. To a grown man too, if we would do the same thing.
Oh, I know. Yes, this is not just reserved for the boys, but yes, teenagers are jerks. That we can soften them a little, but yes, no disagreeing there.
Shannon actually has another question that I think is really good. She's asking, should women downplay their success if the man is still trying to make his way, and to be mindful of his ego?
No. And I mean, here's why. A man who is firmly planted in his masculine energy isn't going to give two shits about your success. He's going to lift you up with him. You're not going to like, and to that side though, if you're a woman who's like, nah, nana boo boo, I'm kicking your ass. That's not healthy either. Right. Like, sit down as a couple and say, okay, like, to me, it's open communication, like, bottom line, right? I'm not going to sit here. People say things like, well, it's none of my business. It's everybody's damn business what's happening in the world. Okay. Like, gone are the days of we're not looking anymore. Like, that narrative is gone. And that's the same. Like, it's not my place to say that to my husband. Bullshit. Sit down and have a conversation and say, babe, how can I help? How can we pull you up together? What do you need from me? How can I show up for you in a way that's going to be empowering? I know I'm doing really well, but I want us to both do well. How can we make this happen together? If you're having that conversation, and Colin, you tell me if that lands for you. If I said that to you, you'd be like, oh my God, she's on my team. Beautiful. Let's do this.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And what do you say to like couples where only the men handle the finances, where the woman is like, well, how much money do we have? Or what? And where the man is like, don't worry about it. I got it. It's handled. What do you say in that situation where, because I think as men, I think when you're living together, finances, everything need to be talked about. But I think sometimes with certain things like money and finances, men can be overly protective or don't want a woman to enter into that arena. But I think it's so important that a woman stands her ground and says, listen, if we are going to be in this partnership together, we need to be discussing things like this together. Do you find that? Do women come to you and say that they don't feel like they're able to stand up to a man who is not letting them have access to certain parts of their
Yeah, I mean,
relationship like that?
I don't see that in my coaching practice, but I do see that in my friend circle, and I call bullshit on everything because to me that so couple things come up when you say that. First thing is that there's a trust issue, right? She's not
Yeah.
trusting him, period. And so if for me, I'm not a fan of handling the finances. I like to have a pulse on it and I'd like to know what's actually going on, but I don't need to know because I already have 1.5 million things that I'm doing. I don't need to be in that also, because that actually does put you in your masculine, right? When you're worrying about finances or you're And I love numbers. I love doing revenue mapping. I do it for my company, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to also have to handle the money. Give me my allowance or give me my pay, whatever. I'm cool with that. If I don't trust you though, and you start to be secretive about it, and if I say to you, hey, can we sit down? I just feel like I really need to understand the budget this month because I should probably have a good sense of. And if you get any type of resistance, there's something going on there.
Yeah.
That's my view. So it's like if you want to know about the numbers, I would ask you, why do you need to know about all of that stuff? Is it that you don't trust him? Is there something that's not gelling with you? Because if you trust the person, you don't really need to know, line by line what's going on. You just and if you bring it up and you get resistance, then I would have a conversation like, okay, this is not feeling good for me. But do a gut check, like do a monthly gut check. Hey, can we sit down? Let's just go over the numbers. It should be, yeah, babe, let's sit down and look at it together. Perfect. Okay, cool. But if there's resistance, yeah.
Yeah, I just in terms of balance, because let's say man passes away and woman has no idea what is what.
Yep.
That's not a good situation.
No, do a gut check. Yep, for sure.
Sometimes women can be like, oh, I don't want to worry about it. I don't want to have to deal with it. I even knew a woman who they would go to restaurants and her husband would order for her. Like she wouldn't even pick up the menu. I'm like, really? She's like, oh yeah, no, he just orders for me all the time.
But is she happy?
Yeah, and if it works, great.
Right.
If it works, great. But they ended up getting divorced, and I think energetically, somehow that had to have contributed to him. I don't know, feeling like there was no pushback, or he somehow felt out of balance in one way or another, where even maybe the conversation wasn't even had.
Right.
But that's where I think it's so important to be able to at least have these kinds of conversations.
Yeah.
Because if it works for you guys, great. But at least have the conversation so that it's not like you're blindsided when all of a sudden he comes up and says, you know what, this isn't working out for me. I want a divorce.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's way more going on than finances in that situation, for sure. But that would be a stressor for sure. But yeah, I just think I always like to do that gut check, you can feel when things are balanced in your marriage, and you can feel when they are not. And how you know the difference is if you close your eyes and get in touch with the heart and start asking the harder questions. That was what I did. And I feel it's in balance. That's why it's in transition.
And do you feel that men can change to be more in their masculine? Because some women I hear complain that their husbands are just not enough in their masculine. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, they're like, dude, fucking go chop a tree down and bring me some wood or something. Show me.
That's my experience.
And that is that gets me going.
True. Everything you're saying is true. I think you can't tell until the woman is in her feminine, if that's true. So what I mean by that is if you are committed to being more balanced in these energies, and you feel in your heart that you are definitely not controlling, not criticizing, not closing off, and you feel that you are absolutely in flow, and he still won't show up in his masculine, there a couple things could be happening. He may not know how, right? That's possible. Mm-hmm. If he's interested in having a balanced, and so what we're talking about right now is called polarity. So if he wants polarity with you, then he has to go seek it out himself. You can't tell him where to go. You can't tell him what program or book to read. None of that shit. He has to figure it out on his own. If it's important to him, you'll figure it out. But there is also the man who is still just mostly predominant to female energy. Like that, those exist as well. And they need a strong woman. And some of those women are happy for a time. I would argue that not long term. Eventually a woman gets tired of being in her alpha. But some guys just are in their feminine. But I think predominantly the women who are saying like, dude, why can't you just get in your masculine? If you've done all the work and he's done all the work, and I'm not talking like read a book, I'm talking like serious personal development work. If you've put a year or two into it and you're both still trying to figure that out, then he may just not be that masculine energy that you're looking for. And that's okay. But you can't make that decision and you can't make that distinction until you've done the work. So, and it has to start with us, because a guy's not like, and you can, Colin, you can vouch for this, but like, you're not going to out alpha me. You're going to just be like, oh, I'm done. I can't handle this chick anymore. Like, you're not going to be like, yo, let's fight. Right. Cause like,
yeah, it shouldn't
not
be
really how it goes.
I mean, it's fun to have some friendly rivalry going on where you challenge each other, but it shouldn't feel like it's, you've got to dominate each other with everything that you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so eventually, so the woman really has to be the one to like put her little white flag up and surrender. And I know there's so many women who are like, oh, I hate that word, but it's true. You can, again, you want to be right or you want to be happy. When we surrender to our feminine, not to the man, but when we surrender to our feminine, we're like this squishy, beautiful thing that opens up and we just draw them in like they have no choice.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. All right. And as we wrap up here, I just want to know, my movie 100 Days to Live just came out and it's pretty scary. So when you watch a movie like that, do you like a man to be able to
hell yeah
around you and make you feel protected? And
anytime you want to send one, Colin, I'm 43 old in school. No. Yeah, of course, 100%. And that was a beautiful plug for your movie. And I promise that this weekend, I'll make my daughters be the masculine energy. She's pretty good at that, Olivia, as you know. But yeah, of course we want to, yeah. And can I just say one more quick thing about that? Ladies, if you're resistant to the snuggling and to the sweet things that your man is doing, you're probably in your masculine. Because in your heart, you're like, oh my God, he's so cute. Oh. But in the masculine, you're like, oh, why is he being so mushy? So if that happens for you, there's another way you need to maybe question what energy you're in predominantly.
Awesome. Thank you, Cara. And one last question. This is a question I ask at the end of the show to all of my guests. And Miss Amy Bray is asking the same question. She wants to know what helps inspire you the most and what piece of advice do you give the most? What inspires you, Cara?
People. Like just watching people shift out of their suffering into their happiness is so, and you can see it everywhere. You can see it. And anytime, I cry a lot, like at least once a day about something that I see, like kittens or whatever, something. But people inspire me 100%. And the advice I give the most, or the thing I say the most often, is growth is pain, but then it's freedom. Yeah. It's never a walk in the park. If you're growing, it should hurt like a son of a gun, but eventually it will be freedom. And that freedom is like palpable. It's a beautiful thing. Yeah,
definitely. Well, Cara, thank you so much. You are going to be one of the amazing speakers at our Best Self Summit, February 22nd. So I can't wait for you to have the stage for a half hour with some of our other speakers. So I'm excited for you to be a part of that. And for anyone else out there who's interested in hearing more about what you do and maybe contacting you with regards to coaching and helping build out their businesses, how can they get a hold of you?
Super easy. It's caramccarron.com. You can come and catch me there, or on Instagram at She's the Owner.
Awesome. I would highly recommend anyone who's interested in whatever, if you're dealing with any and all of this stuff. Cara, again, I've known you for 2 years. You've been instrumental in helping me work through some of the things that I've been dealing with over the past couple of years, and I can't thank you enough. And I just want to say I love you for who you are, and thank you for being there in those moments of my life that I've needed it. So I appreciate it.
Right back
Thank
at you. Thank you. Mwah.
Thanks, Cara. I'll see you soon.
Bye.
All right, another amazing episode. Hopefully you guys got some great insight out of that. And again, Cara is going to be one of our guest speakers at our Best Self Summit, February 22nd, along with Bella Gandhi. She's going to be having the stage for her 30 minutes. And then we are having Desmond Clark from the Chicago Bears. He's going to be doing a half hour of success principles. And what's great about this summit is it is going to be on a Monday. It is going to be a motivational Monday like no other. We are going to be starting to sell tickets this Wednesday. And it's going to be just an awesome day of community and connection. And for those of you who are wanting to get more involved and get some more information about how you can really, truly start taking your life to that next level, by all means, reach out to Cara, reach out to me. I do personal coaching as well. I just finished my 6-week Inspire course where, again, I had another cohort of 20 plus amazing people go through this incredible 6 weeks of goal setting and mindset strategy, paradigm shifting, all of this stuff that has helped me be able to get to where I'm at in my life with regards to having worked with, again, some of the top actors, directors, producers in the industry, and now taking my career to that next level of personal coaching and content creation, and having written my book. Again, my book club started last week. For those of you who are interested in doing a deeper dive into Agile Artist, each week we go into each chapter of my book, everything from digging deep within ourselves to make those tough decisions that we know that our soul is calling us and beckoning us to do, similar to what my calling was to go out to Hollywood, as scary as that was, to pursue something that was, in my mind, kind of crazy and impossible. But like Cara said, it's all about getting out of your comfort zone and being uncomfortable, because in those places outside of your comfort zone, that is where our dreams and our manifestation of all the things that we want to create more of in our lives happen. It's not always easy, and that's why it's important that we surround ourselves with a great group of people to keep reminding us of our greatness, keep reminding us of what we are capable of, and for us to be able to declare to our community what we want to accomplish, because there is power in making bold statements in what you are going to do with your life and what you're going to create. And I've created this amazing group of people that I'm blessed to have a part of my life. And if you want to be a part of it, by all means, shoot me an email at info@colinegglesfield.com or go to my website, colinegglesfield.com. And we're going to keep continuing this amazing motivation and more inspiration for you guys. So thank you so much for being here tonight. And I can't wait to see you guys on the 22nd. Take care. Have a great week. And be sure to watch 100 Days to Live if you haven't checked it out so far. All right. Take care for now. Have a great week.